Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing my fourth video in my student teacher series here on my channel. Today's video is going to be all about the Edtpa. I am currently taking the Edtpa right now, and I want to share with you guys how I'm organizing, getting prepared for the Edtpa, and just all sorts of things revolving how to prepare for the Edtpa. And so if you're new here, hi, my name is Haley. I am in a first grade classroom and I am student teaching there. I have been there since the fall because I'm very lucky that my university allows us to stay in our student teaching placement all year long. And so I've been loving it so far, and I've been sharing with you guys what I'm learning and what I've been doing and just things that I love. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and make sure to hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you here. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so if you have learned anything about the Edtpa, you know that it's this huge portfolio that you are required to submit in a lot of states. And in Washington, where I live, it's actually required for you to become a teacher. And so this test is very big, very important, and a lot of work. And it's something that I am taking a lot of time on and really making sure that I'm absolutely as prepared as possible. How I'm organizing for the Edtpa is with this binder. And so I just printed off this little paper that says Edtpa binder because I'm a little bit extra. And so I got this huge binder. I think it's like a 2-inch binder or 1.5 inch or something like that. I got it from like Staples. I actually vlogged when I went and got this, and I'll link that up above. I started preparing for the Edtpa in about the middle of December, right before my quarter ended. I'm going to take you through my binder, show you what I have in it, how I'm preparing for each section, and organizing and just things like that. And so if you open this up, I have this monthly calendar. So this is just what my calendar looks like. And so it just says like January on it, and then if you can see, every day of the month I am writing a little thing that I want to get done for each day. So the Edtpa is split into 3 tasks, and task 1 is the planning task. And so basically the first task of task 1, if that makes sense, is talking all about your classroom and your school and what curriculum do they require you to use, who are the kids in your classrooms, do they have any disabilities, do they have any IEPs, just things like that. And so getting the Edtpa grader people to get to know kind of like what your context is for learning, which is the name of that task. And then also in that task 1, there's also, you have to prepare your lesson plans and submit them. You need to talk about all the materials you're going to use, the assessments you're going to use, and then the very final task of that task is this huge 11-page, well, maximum 11-page paper where you're just commentating all your planning, telling them why you chose this learning target, why are you choosing to supplement these materials, why did you choose this assessment, just basically commentating all of your planning. And so it's this really big task, and so I am going to try my best to get task 1 finished by the end of January. And the reason for that is that it's a really big task, very big, and so it takes a really long time to get everything done and to get everything done well. And so I'm splitting the work up into days, so making sure that I'm consistently working on it, but also not just doing it all in one day and just like getting it done. So that's why I have the monthly calendar. And then I also printed off these things to do little list, and it's in a weekly format, and so like it has every day of the week with like little bullets where you can write things. And so I write down anything related to the Edtpa or education that I want to get done for the day and the week, and that kind of helps me organize, like making sure I'm progressing like in a way that makes sense. So like going through lesson 1 first, going through lesson 2 second, and then going through lesson 3, and then thinking about, okay, so what are the big ideas of this unit, things like that. Also, I am taking the Edtpa in mathematics because I know there's also the elementary education Edtpa in literacy, which, not gonna lie, I kind of wish I was doing because I'm a literacy major, but math is okay too. So that's the second thing that's in my binder. I also printed off the lesson plan template that Edtpa gives you that you can use. You don't have to use this template. You can honestly actually use any template, I'm pretty sure. Something that's really important to know is each lesson plan has to be less than 4 pages, which is I don't know. I haven't tried writing the lesson in the lesson plan template yet, so I'm not sure how tight of a squeeze that is. But so basically you just go through and say the subject, which is math. The central focus is basically like this huge, it's not huge, but like the big idea of the unit that you're going to be teaching. Like what is it that you want your students to know by the end of your unit. Also with the Edtpa website, there is a commentated lesson plan. So basically it goes through each of the prompts and will tell you like what exactly you should put there. And what I've noticed about the Edtpa so far is that they really are trying to set you up for success. Like they go into everything in very big detail, but you just have to know where to look and what exactly they're asking for. But they're not trying to make you fail. It is a lot of work, for sure, but I feel like there's a lot of resources on the Edtpa website that can really help you, and one of them is the commentated lesson plan. And so, okay, so the actual name is the lesson plan template description. And so I'm gonna use this and like highlight it and just make sure that I am including everything that it asks me to include. And I think that's one really big tip, is to make sure you are doing everything that all the prompts say. Okay, so the next little like plastic covered page in my binder is this little learning progression. I actually got this in one of the classes I'm taking this quarter, but you can obviously like make something similar. So basically, these are the 3 lessons I'm teaching. This bubble is the learning targets. This bubble is the like I can statements I'm gonna write on the board for my learning target for the kiddos. So like, for example, one of them is I can describe a defining attribute of a shape. So that's like one of my success like I can statements. And then also beneath that it says it allows you to write which kind of formative assessment you're going to use. So like how I'm going to assess those kids to make sure that they meet my learning target kind of thing. Okay, so then the next thing in my Edtpa binder is the actual Edtpa handbook, which is a lot of pages, by the way. It's really overwhelming at first. So what I did is I put these little sticky notes that say like task 1, task 2, task 3, so that I can, while I'm working on one of the tasks, I can just flip to it. And so if you can see, I have like written all over the like different tasks introductions to like make sure that I completely understand which what everything in that task is asking for. Okay, the biggest tip I have for you with the Edtpa and all the tasks, there are so many rubrics in each task. There's like 5 or 6, I don't remember, but I went through each rubric. I don't know how well you can see it, and anything that they had bolded I read through and highlighted. I also compared level 3 versus level 4 versus level 5. Those are the grades that you can get. I went through and made note of like what the difference is. So for example, for rubric 1, level 3 is making procedures with clear connections to concepts or mathematical reasoning. Level 4 is when you make clear and consistent connections to concepts and mathematical reasoning. And then the last one is like you lead students to make their own clear and consistent connections. So like each level is a little bit different, and so your goal is obviously you want to aim for the 5, but I think to pass you have to get mostly 4s and a couple 3s to like barely pass. And so what I'm planning on doing is, while I'm doing my planning commentary, while I'm writing up my context for learning, I'm going to have the rubric right beside me and making sure that I use the language that is used in the rubric, make sure I am doing the things that are in bolded, and making sure that I am aiming for a 5, obviously. Okay, and then the next thing that I printed out from the Edtpa website was their Making Good Choices support resource. So basically this kind of goes through the handbook, pulls out the most important parts along with some tips and things, and just make it more concise. So like this Making Good Choices handbook is 30 pages rather than 60. Also with the Edtpa handbook, I like can't even talk, all these words are so long. The Edtpa handbook has a glossary. So if you read a prompt and you're like, what the heck is it asking me? Like, what does it mean by syntax kind of thing? Like, does it mean grammar, or does it mean like when they're writing, like when they're speaking? Like if you're confused, you can go to the glossary, which is like page like, I don't know, 55 or something, towards the end of the handbook, and it'll give you definitions for all those weird terms that like can be perceived in different ways, and it'll tell you like how the Edtpa perceives it. Okay, so the next thing in my binder is the number corner for the month that I am teaching the Edtpa. And so I am slowly taking over math. From last week till the day that I finished my Edtpa, I am teaching math. And the reason for that is that I want my kids to be used to me teaching math. So then when I get up there and teach for the first day during the Edtpa, they're not like, what the heck, why are you teaching? Like, why isn't she teaching, kind of thing. And it just gets them used to it, and also to set those behavioral expectations, because I know for me personally, some of the biggest fears I have with the Edtpa is that my kids aren't going to want to sit on the carpet, or they're going to get wiggly, or like they won't listen to me or something. Like, as a student teacher, it's really hard for the boundaries of like respect, because you're like a teacher but you don't always teach, and like your CT is still like a little bit above you, obviously, in the classroom perspective. At least that's how it is for me, and I struggle with classroom management a lot. Luckily, it's gotten a lot better, but I really wanted the kids, and my CT wanted me to teach the kids math and to kind of understand like where they're going, what they're learning, things like that. And now at the very end of my binder, I have my lesson plans printed. And so when you get a lesson plan from a curriculum, it will come just like this, and it just has like a bunch of information, and then it goes through all the things that you should do, blah blah blah. It also, at least for my curriculum, they give like supposed student answers to questions that you ask, which are like always not the things that my students would actually say. And so what I do, I go through and like highlight the main ideas and like highlight things that are like most important out of the lesson plan that I want to make sure I say, like, or questions I want to ask, things like that. And so if I was just teaching this lesson for not Edtpa, that's where I would stop probably. I would just highlight the things I want to make sure, and then I'd have that lesson plan up with me while I'm teaching. But because this is Edtpa, I went through each lesson plan, and so I wrote down the materials that are needed for that lesson. I wrote down the learning target that I think that lesson plan is trying to get at. I wrote down the vocab, and I wrote down the assessment I'm going to use. So the reason that I did that is because each of those things are needed for the task 1 of planning. And so, oh, and also supports. If you are taking the Edtpa, make sure you talk about how you're going to differentiate your students' learning based on their needs. Make sure you're going to talk about which scaffolds you're going to use and how you're going to support students that are ELL, students that have IEPs, students that are low language, students that are struggling in reading, things like that. Talk about how you're going to support them a ton. Oh my gosh, like biggest tip. And so basically my biggest takeaways for the Edtpa is manage your time wisely, plan ahead, go through the Edtpa, like all the things you have to do. Okay, task 1, I have section A, I'm going to do that Monday. Section B, I'm going to do Tuesday and Wednesday. Like, actually divide up your time so that you'll actually hold yourself accountable. That's my biggest tip. My second tip is to print out the handbook and the rubrics and go through them. Dive in, analyze them, highlight, underline, take notes, do everything. Talk to friends about what they noticed. Maybe they read something in a different way than you did, kind of things. And so that's my second tip. My third tip is to use the glossary that the Edtpa provides. The glossary is your savior during the Edtpa. It defines those words that like you're like, what do they mean by that? Like, and it'll help you answer those questions correctly. My fourth tip is to print out the Making Good Choices handbook. It's basically like a short guide to the big long handbook. Obviously read both, but they do have some really helpful things that are in that Making Good Choice resource that maybe weren't mentioned during the handbook. And my fifth and final tip is to believe in yourself. Know that you are going to do great. I know that I've literally had so many days where I'm like, can I do this? Like, am I actually meant to be a teacher? Do I want to go through all this? But the answer is yes. Like, I've been in this program for 3 years. Like, this is like so close to the end. I'm graduating in the spring, and this is like one of the last little hoops that I have to jump over to get to be a teacher. And so remember that it's worth it. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be a lot of long hours. It's gonna be a lot of work, but it's nothing that you've never done before. And so just remember that, believe in yourself, and know that you can do this. And that's gonna be all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this next video in our little student teacher series. These are all things that I am actually doing, as you guys saw in my little Edtpa binder. Like, these are the things that I'm doing to set myself up for success and making sure that I get everything done on time and correctly for the Edtpa. The Edtpa is a huge deal. I know it can be so scary, but it'll be okay. We'll all make it through. If you've taken the Edtpa, or if you're taking the Edtpa right now, let me know down below so that we can chat and maybe we can share some ideas with each other. Or if you have any tips, make sure to leave them down below because I would definitely appreciate them. And I will see you guys in the next video of this student teacher series. Bye!